Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum. It is exactly 9:58 a.m. and we're on to our final interview for the morning. We'll be talking with Executive Director, and that is you, Francesca de Gasparis. You are with the South African Faith Communities Environment Institute. You are the executive director there, of course. We're talking about a very important day. What should we as lay people be observing, doing, or perhaps being involved in to make a meaningful difference? A very good morning to you. You are here to talk to me about World Environmental Health Day 2022.
Thank you so much. It's wonderful to be here again and lovely to see you. And good morning to all the listeners. Um,
Likewise, thank you.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I so this is a day that isn't very commonly known. It's an international day. It's the World Environmental Health Day, and it started in 2011. Um, and it's really a part of us understanding better what is the impact that our actions are having on health as well as the environment. So oftentimes you'll hear environmentalists like myself talk about negative impacts such as pollution and so on, but we don't always make the link to our health and to how that is affecting the public in general. So today is the theme for today, for this year, is strengthening environmental health systems for the implementation of the Sustainable Development Goals, so the SDGs. And of course, we know that the SDGs are there's an agenda to 2030, looking at trying to improve the the health of people and planet, and there's 17 different sustainable development goals. So it's linking, this year's theme is linking, sort of the thinking around the sustainable development goals with this concept of environmental health. And so we can look at the sustainable development goals as part of how we understand what are we talking about when we talk about this issue, and what are we trying to achieve when we talk about environmental health. So for us, I think it's about really widening, and you might start to hear that more and more in terms of issues like environmental and climate justice. People are starting to say that it's affecting mental health, that it's affecting physical health. And how do we link health with environmental issues? How do we start to understand that these two are connected to each other? And so there's lots of things that are happening with that, which I can go into more detail.
Okay, and that is a real issue, is it not? I mean, we've just seen what played out in the Northern Hemisphere with this very fierce summer that they've had. Heat waves, unprecedented heat waves, which was never before seen in the world. We entering our summer months, and I kind of wonder and worry how we're going to be impacted. So yes, it does have a direct impact on our health and well-being, but how do we break it down and disseminate it to people so that they can understand and start mitigating it in their small ways? And collectively, if we all do a little small something, it is going to have a huge impact.
I mean, there's lots of ways that you can take action as individuals. Some of the really interesting initiatives that are starting up are these ideas of citizen monitors. So if you're concerned about the health of your local river or the air pollution, or even if you're living near a nuclear power plant, you can get really not very expensive ways of measuring the health of the water, the pollution levels, and even radiation. So this is a big movement around the world, helping empower people so that they feel that if they're concerned about something, they're keeping an eye on what's happening. And we know in the Cape, for example, we had quite a dry winter. There has been more rain of late, but not long ago we had day zero. So people are becoming much more conscious of things that are impacting. So if there's a sewage leak, for example, how is that affecting the water and the biodiversity in our local rivers? And what can we do about it? And I think the first step is starting to get a better understanding of the health of the environment around ourselves. So there are citizen activities like that, sometimes connected with schools, sometimes connected with environmental organizations, and sometimes connected with universities. And there's lots of ways that you can look into that and see what's happening in your local area.
What are we going to see starting to play out? What sort of messages is going to be going out to communities? And of course, the right place to start at is school level and varsity, because at that level, at when young people enter tertiary spaces, they do become activists, and these are the type of issues we want them to push, to become aware of, and these are the people that are being heard. So we need to get them on board to make this to make this a reality, an everyday reality in our lives.
Yeah, absolutely. My nephew is a young adult. He's 19 now, and he's become incredibly excited about the natural world. He's a wonderful example of a young South African and what you can do. He's interested in herpetology, the study of lizards
Wow.
and frogs. And so he uses an app called iNaturalist. And iNaturalist is free, anyone can download it, and you can find out there's a wealth of knowledge about what's going on in South Africa in the natural world. That's one of the ways, if you look at that, if you're interested in something like that, you can see what's going on, what are other people finding out. And so it's this sort of open source knowledge sources that you can access as a young person to start to understand better what's happening around you. So I really want to encourage people that if they're interested in finding out about environmental health, how it's affecting their own health, there are some very interesting opportunities. Benchmarks is another NGO based in Gauteng, and they do some really interesting monitoring with communities around the impacts of mine dumps, for example. They also have an app that you can use. So there's lots of different ways that we can start understanding what we're seeing in the world and sharing it with others. And I think that's the future. This sort of community citizen, almost journalism, if you want to call it that, or measuring and monitoring and sharing information, because that's really where the power lies, in having information about what's going on, and what then you can start campaigning about it, approaching your local government, um, raising awareness in your community, organizing cleanups, or whatever it is that you want to do to try and help the local environment around where you live.
Francesca, are you do you find that people are more interested in these type of issues? I'm thinking about people living in cities and suburbs, and how different is the reality in rural areas. Is there a very big disparity?
Well, these apps, of course, will work anywhere, but I think it depends. I think rural communities often are disproportionately impacted more negatively. They often feel that their voices are less heard, and it's really, they can feel sort of disconnected from the conversations that are going on in the cities, where most schools and universities may be doing more of these initiatives. But I mean, we're very interested in working closely with rural people, making sure their voices are heard in terms of the challenges that they're facing. And I think that's where social media is a very powerful tool for all of us. And I think that it's quite a different world, because as long as you can somehow get access to some data onto the cellular network, and we know people who are working on the Wild Coast, for example, who they have to climb the hill to get the cellular access, but once they do, they can share their stories. And I think that's very powerful.
What's your most important takeaway message to our viewers and listeners this morning regarding this very important day? You are with the Southern African Faith Communities Environmental Institute, talking to us about highlighting World Environment Health Day, today, the 26th of September.
From our side, we know that these environmental crises, the climate crises, the droughts, and what we've been seeing, these are set to continue. But we really want to put the power into the hands of people who are experiencing things, It's incredibly useful, and we will make a difference if we work together. Share what you find. Young people are so good at that, and I really do feel that there's an opportunity here for us as a nation to understand what's going on for us, and we can then respond to that and take action together.
Thank you indeed for that very important information for all of us to collectively join hands and save our environment, make this planet a more beautiful and healthy place to live in. Thank you, Francesca de Gasparis. Lovely talking to you after a long, long time. You go well.
Lovely.
God bless.
Thank you so much. You too. Have a wonderful day.
And that brings us to 8 after 10 exactly. That means we're signing off this morning. Lovely to have you on the show. I do hope you've enjoyed the interviews. A big thank you to our production team. That's you, Nasreen Naidu and Kolani. And to the rest of you, please take care if you're going to be on the roads. And it's going to be a very hot day. It doesn't look like it right now. It's a bit overcast. But the temperatures in Gauteng would probably peak at 32 degrees. So please do make sure that you hydrate, wear a cap if you're out and about, and take care. Till tomorrow morning at the same time, as always, Assalamu alaikum and Khuda Hafiz from me, Julie Ali.